Who's cooking today? What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso.
And the mic should be on now. Yep, looks like it. Welcome everybody. DK's baking a cake today. Hey AJ, hey Lumpy, hey Scott. Welcome. Yeah, so today is going to be way more informal than it has been previously. I'm on the tired side because I've been busy. I know Lumpy knows what's going on because I sent him a picture of what I did. But since the last time we hung out, hey Liquidity, welcome. Since the last time we hung out, I learned about these things called LUTs, which are camera color correction profiles. And so I went in and figured out how to set those up for the two cameras that I have set up, so then that way hopefully the color is a little bit better and the picture is a little bit better, just because we're trying to improve a little bit day by day. The next big project that I have is I'm going to need and it should in theory be here tomorrow. Better lighting for underneath the shelf that I got going on here, so then that way what's going on and what I'm making land is better lit, better colors, etc., etc. Thank you, Scott. Yes, you are correct, AJ. Lumpy is in fact swinging a sword around after chatting with Mrs. Weso, and Lumpy Pickle graciously agreed to mod for me, just because sometimes I'm focused on cooking and doing stuff like that, and so sometimes you just need a mod. I mean, it should be a pretty chill process, at least in here, but at least, you know, he's got the experience, and in fact he'll probably end up teaching me how to mod, so that'll be super helpful. But other reason why I'm just really tired today, besides not necessarily getting a ton of sleep, just in anticipation and excitement for today, because I've been so loving streaming and everything that I'm like constantly thinking ahead. Okay, what's next? What project can I work on? How can I help improve the stream? So I'm constantly like watching videos and reading things on what I'm making land. Hey Renfield, welcome. But and now Mr. Billy Bob Frog is here. Welcome, sir. It is probably, I'm guessing, late morning for you. And Vera probably sees somebody walking their dog along. I'm not sure how well she's being picked up on mic. Oh, 11 a.m. Nice. So we're getting close to lunchtime for you. But I also embarked on a big project. So early on I talked about how right here I have a very large window, and I had put something up to kind of block the outside light, so then that way we weren't getting a ton of glare and everything. But with the setup that I have, I mean, the laptop screen is on the small side. I'm like, hey, you know what, we have the TV that used to belong to my mother-in-law before she passed away, so I'm like, hey, why don't I hook it up just as like to mirror the monitor, so then that way I've got a large thing that I can look at. And then after hooking it up, find out, guess what, the laptop recognizes it as a wholly second monitor. So now I had to build a shelf across the window, which is what I did today, but now I've got this TV sitting here, and so I am looking, chat is nice and big. Actually, what's funny is the chat size is bigger than the laptop screen, but I've got my base software running over here that I can see just to make sure that things are going all right, and I've got chat and I've got everything else. So it's coming along, and yeah, things are coming along really nicely, and I'm just excited to keep doing this. And it's really funny because my family, especially for the longest time, were like, hey, you should make YouTube videos or something like that. And I did make some videos, but for whatever reason I didn't stick with it, and I'm not entirely certain why. That's something that I've tried to figure out, and I know that, you know, my family's kind of lamented on that. Oh, thank you, AJ. I appreciate that. Bring on the trolls. But after especially this last year getting onto Twitch and initially like watching Grant and then watching Andy and watching what they do and getting to know the community, and it was like, you know what, these guys are literally doing what they love and sharing it with the world. I'm like, this is something that I can do. I love food. I love talking about food. I love teaching about food. This is something I can do that I can share with the world. And thankfully I had, you know, a good chunk of equipment. And yeah, I needed to get some stuff. I needed to do some stuff, and always learning and growing. But hey, I'm having a blast. So yeah, the community's not too bad. Community's not too bad, AJ. But yeah, so yeah, lots of feels in that particular department. And plus, you know, you guys have been super supportive and amazing, and a lot of people have come out of the woodwork, and it's just been incredible. So I'm super grateful to everybody that has come through so far. So anyways, with that in mind, today at the chat request after Saturday, I'm making a cake. We're gonna make a pineapple upside down cake, and so we're gonna do that. But then I'm also making dinner because it's, you know, 4 o'clock here, and Mrs. Hueso should be home sometime around 5. So I like to try and have dinner ready pretty close to when she gets home, because her job tends to be a little bit on the higher stress side, and so whatever I can do to kind of make her life easier is what I try to do. So honestly, today's pretty dang informal. Not really going crazy with like, okay, we're going to talk about the history of stuff. It's just, you know, hey, yeah, I agree, Lumpy Pickle. It's, oh yeah, you like that Bravado product placement, AJ? Which is funny because on our menu, this potato salad is actually the Bravado Spice potato salad recipe. After I got the 4-pack in the mail, the recipe cards that come with it, I honestly, that's one of my very favorite things about the Bravado like packaging is the recipe cards that they tend to send along. And so this 4-pack came, and one of the recipes is for a potato salad that uses their creamy herb and jalapeno hot sauce. And so I'm like, sounds pretty good, let's give it a try. I've not made this before. What's kind of funny is about an hour ago I realized that I was missing one of the ingredients, and so I had to run back to the market for the second time today and pick that up, so I have it. But also on the menu, we're making oven fried chicken, and I'll kind of talk. This is something that's honestly a staple in our home. I make it probably weekly, if not bi-weekly, and it's something that I've, you know, put a lot of time and practice into, and I kind of have it down now to where I don't really have to think about it. I can just do it, and it's a really simple process. So I'm more than happy to share it because like I said, it's super easy. So, you know, anybody can do it. Yeah, exactly. So Billy Bob, it's not going to be like deep fried. It's going to have all that, you know, super craggy, but the skin is going to be really crunchy. And yeah, it's good stuff. I'm a big fan. So I got that Bravado potato salad that we're also going to make. At the same time that we're doing the oven fried chicken, we're going to roast up some Brussels sprouts that I'm going to toss in some rendered bacon fat, because if you're not saving your bacon fat and using it to saute up vegetables, you're doing it wrong. So we're going to toss them in that and some salt, and we'll talk about the spice blend that I'll be using, and the pineapple upside down cake with, instead of using the canned whipped cream, we're going to go full baller whipped cream. I've got the heavy cream, I've got my mixing bowl and whisk attachment in the freezer, which I'll talk about much later why we're doing it like that. But I'm going to stick a vanilla bean in there today, and yeah, so we're going to have some awesome whipped cream with it, and this beautiful pineapple upside down cake. And yeah, so, and kind of thinking about how I'm going to attack this, I'm going to make the cake first, get that in the oven. Then for the potato salad, you got to boil the potatoes. While those potatoes are boiling, we'll prep and get into the oven the chicken and the Brussels sprouts, because after the potatoes come out, we got to let them cool, and then we slice them up and then toss them with everything else. And so then we'll finish off that after the chicken and the sprouts are in the oven, and the cake will probably be out of the oven by then. So okay, first thing that we wanted, when I make pineapple upside down cake, first thing I do is I usually make the cake batter then let it sit for a little bit, then I do my prep work for the pan, and then kind of take it from there. So spoiler alert, I use boxed cake mix for this, and you know, it's one of those things that boxed cake mix has been formulated specifically to be really forgiving, and for something like this, I feel like it's completely acceptable to do that. If I were to make it for more kind of formal occasion or something like that, then I would probably make a like a yellow cake recipe from scratch and use that batter. Today I'm actually just making it in a 13x9 Pyrex dish. That's probably the single most common way to make it. I have made it actually in a bundt pan, in a fluted bundt pan, which is really cool, because then you take the pineapple slices, cut them in half so you have semicircles, and then set them in the little ridges, and then put the cherries in with all the sauce and everything, and then pour the batter over it. So then when you go to flip it over, you've got all these perfectly portioned slices, and it looks amazing. The last time I made it, though, I think there was probably too much sauce in the bottom of it, and so it looked a little but you know what, it tasted great, and it didn't go to waste, so I'm okay. It didn't come out as cake soup. It was just more of some stuck and some didn't. Hey, Hazelnuts, welcome. Oh, and I see my sister came in, which, by the way, Kelly, I did get your voicemail, so happy to hear that the jingles stuck with you. But yeah, I mean, it didn't look all that great, but it tasted amazing. So, okay, let's start making this cake. Box instructions for this says turn the oven to 350, which I already did. I got my ovens already preheated and ready to go, because who wants to stand around and watch an oven preheat? Oven at 350, grease the bottom, but I don't need to worry about that. What I will do, however, is after we get the melted butter in the bottom of the cake, the Pyrex dish, and then we'll put in the pineapple rings, and the brown sugar, the pineapple rings, and the cherries. What I will want to do is actually grease around the edge of the cake, or the pan at least, so then that way it releases much easier at the very end. So, okay, this says take the cake mix, water, butter, and eggs in a large bowl with the mixer on medium speed, or beat vigorously by hand for 2 minutes. So, okay, let's crack open. Let's boop, change the camera view. Huzzah. So, okay, one cake mix, good to go. Let's see. So usually with pineapple upside down cake, or even the peach upside down cake, depending, I try to use either, well, so today I am using a can of this in 100% juice. Because it's in 100% juice, I'm gonna save the juice, or at least 1 cup of it, because that's what it says in terms of liquid, and use that in there just to kind of amp up that pineapple flavor. So I got this. Let's doop. Okay. Okay, so I got about 3/4 cup of juice out of that, which is pretty great. To be honest, I have a can of pineapple nectar, but when I checked the date on it, it's a little out of best buy date, and generally speaking, when it comes to stuff like that, depending on what the product is, it's like, okay, you can let it go. No, not that old, AJ. It was 2020 though. Oh, it was 2020. Oh, forget it. That sucker's way old. We're not using that. Never mind. We're not even gonna have that discussion. Okay. That looks like 1 cup of liquid now. I just topped it off with a little additional water. That's all I did. Put that there. Put that there. We got cherries. Oh. 3 eggs. Yeah, funny how that happens. Things just like pop up in the back of the fridge. Now there are some things that I have absolutely no issue letting it go past and beyond. What is kind of interesting is there was an article in, I think it was Lucky Peach, about people who actually aged cans of Spam and let it go way beyond. And apparently it's amazing, and it's like a couple of food scientists that got into it and did it, and so I'm like, sweet, that's actually kind of cool because I like bacon flavored Spam. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I seen it. It really does kind of depend. Sometimes you'll see it listed as either best by or best before, or it'll list a specific expiration date, and the wording makes kind of a difference. If it says like best by or something like that, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily gone bad. It's just that it's not as great as it was new, but it's still certainly consumable. But if it does have a hard expiration date, then I would be really leery about that. Okay, last thing we need is 1/3 cup of softened butter. And thankfully, they hang on. Boop. They actually put on there, you know, measurements and stuff, which is pretty great. So I think most butter producers do that sort of thing, but it is very nice of them and I appreciate it. So that, okay, that is good. So for Christmas, I got a new immersion blender that came with attachments. So I got a whisk attachment, and I've not used it before. So this could go horribly wrong, but it could also be amazing. So let's see, let's put it on 1 just to kind of see how it goes. If not, I'm gonna whisk by hand, I guess. Even 1 might be a little much. Okay, that's working way better. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Alright, so now that that is done, I'm going to put that off to the side. And I'm going to go melt me a 1/4 cup of butter. And I'm going to actually turn it to, does it go to 11? It goes to 12 hazelnuts. I was a little disappointed. It should have only gone to 11, but no, the manufacturers set it to 12. Don't ask me why. Yeah, whiskey attachment, exactly. So I'm going to melt a 1/4 cup of butter, turn it into brown butter, which all it means is that all of the water that's in it is being completely evaporated off, so I'm left with straight butter fat, and then the milk solids that I like to get brown a little bit, just because it adds a really lovely flavor. Yeah, that was at 1, Scott. That was only at 1, but that's okay. Works for me. Wanted to make sure that I got that sucker rinsed off because yeah, either rinse now or you know, scrub later, and I would much prefer to rinse now as opposed to scrub. And let's use that. 1/4 cup, by the way, is a half a stick, at least here. I do this on my big burner, but I got my big burner set up with salted water ready to go so that we can actually get the potatoes boiling on a, in fact, there's the lid. Now leave it on low for the time being. So, hey, on the Soldiers of Giants, how goes it? Potatoes. Yep, exactly. So, when I make popcorn, I generally dress it with brown butter. Well, I shouldn't say generally. I always dress it with brown butter because brown butter just tastes better. And for me, I have found that if I'm making brown butter especially, that as long as I keep the pan swirling, then I don't have an issue. Since when most of the water ends up disappearing or evaporating out, what ends up happening is the remaining water really starts to pop, and then things go horribly wrong real quick because then it just spits. But if I'm constantly just swirling it, then it doesn't do that. And I've just learned that it gets to a certain point that it's ready to pull off because it starts to foam up a little bit, and you can actually see the milk solids start to brown in the middle. So, see how it's kind of all foamy, but I don't know if you can see this. There's a kind of a brownish sediment that's in the bottom of this. That's all those milk solids that I was telling you about. So I'm just going to put that in the bottom of the pan here. Okay, I'm going to actually save these for later tonight because I figure I'm probably going to end up having a bowl of popcorn with whatever it is that I'm watching. So if I'm just melting butter again, why do I need to wash it? Okay, half cup of brown sugar now. You just break up and kind of sprinkle all over the place, get a nice even layer. Yeah, we spilled a little bit. Guess what? That happens when you cook. This isn't no professional YouTube video. Things don't look perfect all the time. We're actually cooking here. Okay. That's looking all right. Cool. All right, we'll hang on to that. Rinse it afterwards. Okay. Pineapple ring time. Because we like being symmetrical. Or at least I do. Okay, Kelly, we'll see you later. I'm probably going to be here for a while. How do I keep the brown sugar soft? You know, Scott, honestly, that is super tough. Because sugar being hygroscopic, meaning it likes to suck in the moisture from the air, but it tends to turn it into a rock. If you have like a air/watertight container to put it in, I would highly recommend it. There used to be these things called, were they sugar bears? I don't remember what they were called, but they're like these little terracotta bears that you would put it into the container and it would help keep them soft. Whether or not they actually work, I don't know. But I mean, I've seen them and I know they've been around forever and a day. Use the brown sugar quickly or throw an end of loaf bread crust in the container or fried piece of clay. Okay, yeah, so the clay soaked in water liquidity, then that's exactly what I was talking about. Or I can see the bread crust working too, because it's going to provide a bit of moisture to kind of loosen things up. Or you just eat all the sugar. Yeah, exactly. Okay, next we've got a jar of cherries, and I'm going to go drain these because I think we're going to use the entire thing. I am going to save that little glass jar. I have a collection of these little glass jars just because I find that I end up using them for, like, if I'm sending like salad dressing or some kind of sauce or something like that. Like if I'm making a meal for somebody and sending it home with them, I just use them for that kind of thing. And so I kind of have like a little hoarder stash of all these little random little jars. I mean, for me personally, I tend to stick to the wide mouth like ball or cur jars, the canning jars, in whatever size. I prefer the wide mouth ones, but you know, you just find that little glass jars are always, you know, super useful. Alright, so we're gonna make this look pretty. Cherries in the middle. There's a bit of a stem there. Boop, boop. Boop, boop. Okay, so now, cherry there, cherry there, cherry there, cherry there, there and there. Oh, that one still had a stem. And 1, 2. So there's 5 there. And let's make a little design in the middle. Okay, it's looking good. Okay, let's grab that. All right, time to put the batter in. Okay. Smells very pineapple-y right now because of using that the juice from the can. It smells real nice. I have actually augmented the pineapple juice with a little bit of juice from the maraschino cherries before, and it makes the cake a little pink, which I'm down with. Okay. So I'm just wanting to kind of gently smooth this out, get everything covered, and I just realized I totally forgot to grease the sides, but oh well, it'll be fine. Alright, we're looking good. Okay, so I'm going to go pop this in the oven at 350, and I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes and then check it, test it, and then if it's still, I have a cake tester. So my wife periodically gets invited to all these Pampered Chef parties, and I've railed against Pampered Chef. I am not a fan of their products because they're like, I'm just not a fan. Anyways, I'll just leave it at that. They made a cake tester, and she got it just to kind of support her friend who was throwing the party. And I'm like, I think it's like the first Pampered Chef product that I actually liked. And it's on one end it's a little metal just kind of poker, which is nice, but on the back end it's got a silicone kind of like a little bit of a blade that you can use to run around the edge of a cake pan, which is actually kind of a nice feature. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the term is called planned obsolescence, usually. Icenic Wolf. That's just an industrial design term that gets used at any rate. But it works really nicely, and so I'm like, okay, that's fine. So, all right, let me put this in the oven. Alright, that timer's now going for cake. Next up, rinse the bowl. Alright, I'm just going to let that fill for a bit because I don't feel like scrubbing dried cake batter. Alright, next up, the potatoes. So the recipe, and it should be on their website, is this guy here. Let me go to, or potato salad, and it looks like that. So this is the recipe we're going to be going with. In the recipe, it says to take about 2 pounds of small red potatoes, which I have here that I've already scrubbed. I've got my pot of heavily salted water already going, so I'm going to go put these in and then let these boil for about 15 minutes or so, and then we'll test them. And if not, we'll let them go till about 20 until they're fork tender. And then we're going to pull them out, let them cool down, slice them into about 1/4 inch thick slices as per the directions on the recipe, and then they're going to get tossed with sliced up red onion, and then we'll make the sauce a little bit later. But while these are boiling, we're going to get to work on the chicken as well as the Brussels sprouts. So I'm going to go put these in the water, and then I'm going to go grab a couple of sheet trays and the non-stick foil that I use. Actually ended up leaving the water on at high for too long, and so needed to add a little additional water to it. Let me go grab those trays now. Okay. So for both the chicken and the Brussels sprouts, I'm going to be using these half sheet pans, and this stuff, the Reynolds grill foil. There's a yellow box which is a non-stick foil, and it's basically what I use almost exclusively, especially if I'm having to put foil down on a tray, like if I'm making oven fried chicken, if I'm making roasted anything. This is going to be on the tray just because food comes up off of it so much easier than if you just had regular foil. I'm having trouble finding actually the small boxes at the moment, just because supply shortages and everything, and so I got to go back out. It's been about 2 weeks, I think, since I last looked, so I might have to go to a couple of different stores in order to find it, but I use the small stuff all the time, and the last time this happened, I had just stocked up. I bought like 6 or 8 rolls of it because I rely on it so heavily, and in fact, that's kind of the key. Yeah, cleanup is so much easier, especially if you completely cover the tray. which is, yeah, if you can completely cover the tray and not puncture it, like literally you pull the foil off and we're done. And it's amazing that way. So let's... Since I'm going to use these tongs later anyways, for those that were here Saturday, you saw me prep these chicken thighs, specifically by trimming off excess fat, scraping the additional fat off of the bottom of the skin, this little flap that pops out, and so this is what we've got going on today. And there we go. I'm just using tongs right now, so then that way I don't necessarily have to wash my hands. And I'm trying to spread these out because I need to season all these. Hopefully my head's not too far in the way. Just looking to see how the color on that looked. Okay, I need my salt. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I'm just using kosher salt here. I'm just sprinkling it. I'm just, you know, grabbing pinches of it, sprinkling it from a height. So then that way it gets dispersed nicely and things are well seasoned. As for the seasoning choice for this evening, I'm using a saltless spice blend that I make called Pixie Dust. And Pixie Dust is actually a variation on my butt glitter recipe, but it kind of takes butt glitter and turns it into the Colonel's secret spice blend, like from KFC. It's a secret and proprietary recipe that you can find on my YouTube channel, where I've made videos about them that goes over the complete recipe and how to make it. So Pixie Dust on the chicken, like honestly the Pixie Dust recipe is worked out really nicely, not only for chicken, but I use it on vegetables a lot too. It seems to just pair really nicely with it, and it works with pork also pretty well. I can't say that I'm the biggest of fans of it on beef. Personally, I think the butt glitter is more suited to that, but the butt glitter is also a way more all-purpose. That butt glitter is something that goes on any protein, any vegetation. It's a fantastic mix, and it's a mix that I'm super proud of. So yeah, if the link to the YouTube channel is on the Twitch page, and it's one of the early videos that's on there, and it should be labeled butt glitter and pixie dust. The original name of Pixie Dust was Dat Chicken Butt Glitter though, initially, but my wife convinced me to change it to Pixie Dust. But anyways, so all of the seasoning blends that I make are actually saltless. There's no salt in any of them, and there's a really good reason for it, because the amount of salt that one puts on the outside of anything they make tends to be somewhat variable. Things like pork tend to love salt, whereas other things, not, you end up using less. However, when it comes to spice blends like these, it's the same amount that you would use basically on anything. And so because of that, the fact that the salt is, you know, kind of a different amount versus the actual herbs and spices and everything, it just makes sense to separate them out. It was a revelation that I kind of had initially when it was because I was really unhappy with taco seasoning that you would find like in the store, because salt tends to be the #1 ingredient in most spice blends. It's cheap and people using it to season stuff, and so because of that, it's, you know, that's just kind of how it is. But the problem was I wanted more of that taco flavor, and I was having to add too much of it and things were way too salty, so it made sense to me to make my own taco blend initially and take the salt out, so then that way I can add whatever salt I needed. Then I read I got a cookbook, and come to find out the author feels the exact same way, and he's actually got a degree in food science. It's the Meathead cookbook, and he's like the owner / moderator. I think it's AmazingRibs.com, but his book is fantastic when it comes to barbecue and just all of that stuff. But he flat out is all saltless spice blends, period. And so it was just like, hey, that's fantastic. It, you know, it's exactly, you know, what I wanted. Okay, so next in this bag is a mixture of all-purpose flour. I want to say there's cornstarch in there, probably some potato starch too. This is going to be the coating for the oven fried chicken, and all I do and then shake off the excess, and then down on the tray. And this is not, the coating isn't seasoned at all, by the way. You see a lot of like TV chefs especially where they're like, you have to season the coating, you have to season it, you have to season it. There's not enough of a coating of this stuff to justify me wasting the money dumping spices into this. There's enough of a spice mixture on the chicken, and the coating is so thin anyways that seasoning it would just be an utter waste. And this method work, you know, I've been doing this exact thing for, oh gosh, it's been a while now, a number of years. So, and I've served oven fried chicken to a bunch of people, and they've all loved it. So, clearly I'm doing something right. Oh yeah, I will be interested to see what your salt-free taco seasoning blend is like with Scenic Wolf. Actually, I think my taco spice blend is actually on the YouTube channel too, from what I remember. Alright. I actually save that stuff, I don't toss it. I'll get into why later. Alright. Little Brussels sprouts looked really good. I'm just going to give these a quick rinse and then trim the bottoms of them. sprout overboard. Let's use that one. And okay. So for the sprouts, all I'm doing is chopping off that little bit. So some of these are a little bit bigger than others. The ones that are this size I'm going to leave whole, but like this one here, after doing that, I'll leave it whole. Then I pull off the loose leaves that come from that. So the thing I put in the microwave is actually that saved rendered bacon fat. I just wanted to kind of get it in a liquid form, so then that way be easier to toss these. And so these guys, in terms of their seasoning, I'm just going to hit them with a bit of salt and then also the butt glitter. Sadly, there's no quick way that I know of to do this. It's just kind of a tedious one-by-one sort of thing. But we love our sprouts, so. Oh, Mrs. Hueso is home. And look at that, it's almost 5. Hey, baby.
She's covered in cat hair.
Covered in cat hair?
Yeah.
Because you're a crazy cat lady now?
No. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good.
Hi, everyone. Who's that? AJ.
AJ, Lumpy Pickles here, Icenic
Pickle.
Wolf, Scott here, Billy Bob Frog.
Yay. Renfield.
Renfield is here. Mom is in here somewhere.
Of course, there she is.
Kelly was in here, but she had a meeting.
No worries. Yeah, let me go change, because
yeah.
Elle is allergic to cats. So
Yeah.
I gotta change.
I don't get along with cats. So my main oven that the chicken and the Brussels sprouts are in right now, well, the Brussels sprouts and the chicken will go into, is set for 350 convection, which, depending on who you talk to, can be converted to 375 Fahrenheit. I usually start out the chicken and things like the sprouts at that temp for about a half hour, and then flip the chicken. The thing, oh, I forgot to mention this. Part of the technique of making that is I started out skin side down, so then that way the contact with the cooking sheet as well as the heat will help render out as much of the chicken fat as possible. So you saw that the tray was, other than the chicken, that was it. There was nothing in there. But once the chicken is actually done, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of rendered fat in there. That rendered fat is what the oven fried chicken effectively fries in. Yes, the puppies have like come in and gone, and
they're outside right now.
they're outside right now. They've been outside quite a bit today.
It's a party day.
It is. All right. Those are good to go. Let me grab that bacon fat. So to this amount of sprouts, I'm maybe going to add a tablespoon of the bacon fat-ish. Really not a ton, because it's not necessary. Just want to get a bit of a coating, and then I'm hitting it with a 3-fingered pinch of salt. And then a couple of shakes of the butt glitter. Toss. And onto the pan. Okay, so now this pan of the chicken is going to go into the oven. Yeah, let's put it there. 30 minutes on the clock. Okay, and that is the timer for those potatoes. And the cake timer is about to go off.
You made the cake.
Yeah, those are still pretty hard. So let's do. And that's the cake timer. Wait. Yeah, there it is. Oh yeah, I can. Yeah, it's still really wet. Okay. So the potatoes have got 4.5. I'm just gonna leave. Actually, you know what? I think the cake. Let's put 7 on the clock for that. Okay, that is done. In the meantime, let's rinse. I'm just washing the bowl that I made the Brussels sprouts in because I'm going to want to put the potatoes in there, and I'll just assemble the potato salad in this bowl. Okay. And here we are. Have a good one, Billy Bob Frog. I will most likely be here when you get back, maybe. At least that's kind of the way that it's currently looking. Alright, so there's that. We can get rid of that. Okay. Okay. So, recipe for the potato salad, since now that we've got Chicken in the oven, Brussels sprouts in the oven. We're waiting for the potatoes to do their thing. Let's go ahead and prep the onion here. Now, according to the recipe, let's see, it uses a half of an onion in slices. So actually, well, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I am going to use the mandolin on this. Yeah, let's use the mandolin. This is Ben Renner Japanese mandolin. There's a number of mandolins on the market. Like, you can see like really expensive like metal ones. You've seen them like made in France and Italy and stuff like that. When I bought this one, it was probably 10 or 15 bucks, and you can actually remove the blade and resharpen it, which is something that most mandolins here in the US you can't do that with. A lot of them make like a V blade, and it's just like, nope, that's it. No, it doesn't play music, unfortunately. It's not that kind of mandolin, but it is sharp and I love it. And I also have the big one for like if I'm shredding cabbage or something like that. In fact, initially I was thinking I was going to make blue cheese coleslaw to go with dinner tonight, except that uses mayo. Potato salad uses mayo. It's a lot of mayo, so I decided to kind of skip it. Okay. That was for the potatoes. Yeah. They are still pretty hard. So, thankfully, really easily adjustable, single screw, super sharp. I'm aiming for something on the slightly thinner side, I think. It's a touch thick, I think. Let's dial it up a little bit. Yeah, that's good. That's what we want. A lot of times people use like a hand guard with them in order to protect their hands, and to be honest,
You should too.
you probably should. I a lot of times don't, because I don't. I have cut myself previously, but that was because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. But that's onion. Super quick and done. That's it. Gotta love it. Yeah, slice it for a unique flavor. For that additional iron content. I think we're at that part of the stream. I have made many a blood sacrifice to the culinary gods, Renfield. I've also burnt the heck out of myself before. Okay, that was the cake timer. Almost. I'm going to say give it about 2 minutes, and that should be done. Okay, let's rinse that off real quick. Things and stuff. Okay. That's good to go. That one. Okay. Let's make the secret sauce. So for that we need whole grain mustard, minced garlic, green onion, parsley, the creamy herb and jalapeno hot sauce, salt and pepper, and a cup of mayo. So let's see. Let's grab nothing.
Need help?
Nope. Okay, those are just about done. And since I'm here and the timer's about to go off on the cake,
It's about to go off.
I'll bring it over. Beauty shot. Although the colors are off. Let's see. Ta-da! Alright, so now we're just going to let this cool down. Cool. Just leave that there. Garlic. Parsley. Got my green onions, got my parsley, got my garlic. So I'm a fan of Heinz mayo personally. There's about a cup that's left in here. I did check ahead of time actually just to make sure. So I'm just going to mix the dressing in here, and I'll have that up there. And because I'm going to be dumping a bunch of stuff in, this is a wide mouth canning jar funnel. That fits like a glove. Love it when a plan comes together. Okay, so the recipe calls for 2.5 ounces of the hot sauce. I actually had a bottle and it kind of firmed up in the fridge, so I left it out in order to make it more liquidy. But 2.5 ounces is going to be 5 tablespoons for anybody that's curious. And let's see. Oh, that worked out real nice. That was 2.5 ounces. Sweet. I did not plan that, and I didn't even check it. I'm like, it looks about right. Okay. And then said about a tablespoon of garlic, so yeah, looks about right. I have 3 timers on the side of my fridge here, just because I always end up needing multiple timers. That lid is hot, don't touch the lid. Alright, so the potatoes are now out. We're going to let those cool down. Okay. So, let me wash.
Who's about to leave?
Yeah. Who's leaving? Oh, I see Nick Wolf. Hey, no worries, man. Yeah, probably after I eat, or after we eat, I should say, I will probably download the VOD then and upload it to YouTube this evening, so it should be up a little bit later. Let's see. So have yourself a good one. Take care.
How many recordings till affiliate? How many streams? I think this is it, right?
This is it. This is it. Honestly, thanks to everybody. I have hit all the metrics that I've needed to in order to hit affiliate. So I've got the followers. Today is the last day, the 7th day of streaming within the 30-day period. Thanks to you guys, I've had more than the number of viewers needed to hit that metric. And what was it? Followers, days, hours. Yeah.
7 unique streams.
Yeah, and 7 unique streams. And so, yeah, I should be getting an email from Twitch within the next day or two. And yeah, so affiliate party. It'll be a good time. Okay. Garlic calls for a tablespoon. Green onions, it calls for 1/3 cup. I like green onions, so I'm going to put some additional in. And then parsley, it calls for about 1 cup, so I'm going to go wash this. I'm not a big stickler for just leaves. I'm okay with a little bit of stem, especially for cilantro, because there's just a lot of flavor in there. So garlic, green onions, and parsley, and then everything else I think is, yeah, salt, pepper, mustard, and yeah, that should be that. So I'm excited to try this. The recipes that Bravado sends out with their hot sauces, from just a cursory glance, they look really solid. Okay, there's the parsley, green onions. Let's take care of the garlic real quick. I'm just taking off the kind of the root end. And just giving them a good smash with the side of the knife. You can be like some of the Chinese chefs that get super violent and just smack it real quick. However, every time I've done it, I've ended up with garlic everywhere. Thanks, Hazelnuts. I appreciate that. Wonder how many people get that that particular reference. would appreciate it if you...
Jinx! That's what I just said.
Oh, did you just say that? Nice.
Bring my stickler.
I would appreciate it if you did.
If you prefer talking minutes.
Anybody ever watched Strong Bad Emails? I would appreciate it if you would proofread your emails. Alright, so garlic is in. Let's trim these guys up. Yeah, it has been years, but Renfield, but it's one of those things. There's like a few things that just end up in, or did end up in things that we say like appreciate. And Ellie's sister. The cheats light switch, so we can turn the lights on and off, not so we can have a light switch rave. Okay. So the white bits I just kind of slit in half, so they're not all that big. No, they haven't made Strong Bad Emails in years. And then I cut them in half because now I'm doing half of the cuts that I would have been if I had left the onions full length, if that makes sense. So now I'm only doing half the work. How's that?
Better.
Thank you. No, it's fine. I appreciate it. Alright. Green onions. Chopped up. Actually, that kind of looks like it's about a third. Okay, parsley time. Yeah, so baby, I thought I had everything in order to make the potato salad today.
Yeah.
And in getting ready for kind of the stream and everything, I went and read through the recipe just to kind of familiarize myself with it and realized, oh, I don't have any parsley.
Is that what you're playing with right now?
Yeah, that's what I'm playing with right now. So this what this.
Go to the store.
I did go to the store. I went to the store about an hour before I started streaming. I just popped over to the market and went in and literally got the one thing. I think I was in and out in like 5 minutes, but that's just kind of the story of my life when it comes to this sort of thing. It's like if you're not going to the market at least, 2 times when you're trying to make something, you're not doing it right. Seems to be true for hardware stores. Head still in the shot?
No, you're good.
Okay. I just saw Lumpy's comment. So I'm just running a rough chop through this initially in order to kind of knock it down so it's not quite as tall. And then I'm coming in from the other side. Mincing parsley was actually one of the tasks that we had to do back when I was in culinary school. They would have these knife skills tests that you would do at the beginning and end of every kitchen class. So like at the beginning of the semester, you would do a knife skills test, and the chef instructor would grade kind of where you're at in terms of your knife skills. And then you would do it at the end of the semester to see how you improved. And mincing up a bunch of parsley was one of the tasks. And so you had to strip a full bunch and mince it up super, super small. And then you had to wash it in like cheesecloth, because by chopping it up it gives off a whole bunch of chlorophyll, and you didn't want that additional chlorophyll to get into whatever you were usually garnishing with it. It's probably my least favorite portion of that. There was another bit of the test that I wasn't a fan of, but it was one of those things that you had to do it. It was kind of a traditional sort of thing to really kind of test your skills, and it was cutting a what's called a tournée. So a tournée is a cut you make from a football shape. Exactly. It is a 7-sided kind of football shape, squared ends, but it's supposed to have equal 7 curved sides to it. And it's really, it's an old school sort of technique, but it's really, really to kind of demonstrate your skills with a knife. And you had to cut, I think it was like 4 of them or something like that within, as part of the test, and they had to be like acceptable tournées. And so I would periodically buy a I think all this needs is salt and pepper, so a little bit of salt. I'll go grab the pepper real quick. But I would buy like 5-10 pound bags of potatoes and just practice. And so I would just stand there in the kitchen practicing making these tournées. And yeah, I don't miss that. Tournées were incredibly wasteful, and it's like we're making a cocktail here. Oh, I forgot the mustard. Well, it's looking pretty good. So I don't have whole grain, but I do have a kind of a spicy, grainy mustard. And I think that, what, 2 tablespoons? That looks about right. I'm like, that's gonna get clipped, isn't it? Okay. Dressing is done. I'm gonna start cleaning up a little bit. Oh, nice. That's good. Those are ready to be rinsed. Those away. Those can get put away. Hi, Jane. Jane's just like, I'm hungry, feed me. That's Jane's superpowers. He's always hungry. Alright. Potatoes are still pretty warm, but I've only got like a minute or two to go on the Brussels sprouts and chicken until we flip. So I might as well. So the recipe says to cut them in about 1/4-inch slices, so about like that. Now I use red potatoes. When it comes to things like potato salad, anything where I kind of want them to stay somewhat solid, I will always use a red potato, which is thank you, Scott. It's a waxy potato, and so what that means is it holds up really well to being boiled. Not really. They can be used for like mashing, although I don't generally recommend it. Okay, so I'm doing two things here. I'm flipping the chicken, and then I'm cranking the oven up to 450 to do a final crisp on everything. Oh, that's looking awesome. How are those looking? I think I'm going to pull those for a moment. So the Brussels sprouts actually look like they're closer to being done. So I will put those back in with like for like the last 5 minutes or so, and then just to kind of finish them off. Just right there. It's almost. Well, that's actually cool enough to handle. So we'll bring that over momentarily. Let's finish slicing these up.
The recipe calls for rings like that?
It just says slice the potatoes into 1/4-inch thin slices.
Okay.
And then add them to the bowl with the onions. Yeah, that's what the recipe says. I would have. Yeah, well, I'm making it to the recipe just to, and then I can kind of decide from there. Oh, okay, well, maybe I'd do this or whatever. Like one of the thoughts I had for the red onions, I thought would be really good, is if the red onions were pickled. I think pickled onions in there would be really good. Yeah, we're gonna need to have like a camera over the stove. We're gonna need, yeah. But that's okay. We're learning and growing. We're still quite new at this. But, yeah. Having the TV as a second screen here has been amazing. Just going to give those a bit of a toss to kind of rough them up. I think maybe the reason why they were aiming for kind of those rounds like that is they figured when you go to mix them up, they'll break up a bit. So I think we're supposed to let those cool down a bit before we, let's see, in a separate bowl, add the mayo, blah, 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 blah. Pour the sauce over the potatoes and mix well. Oh, let the potatoes cool completely. Yeah, okay. So we'll let those do that before we dress the salad. Excuse me, Jane. to go. This is also good to go. Everything is looking good. Dressing is good. Potatoes are good. Cake is there. You know what? So, let's see, how much time do we got? 11 minutes. Plenty of time. Okay. Let's make some whipped cream. Although, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go grab that bowl. Okay, I got my frosty mixing bowl and whisk attachment. This is one of my jars of vanilla extract filled with vanilla beans that my sister brought back from Madagascar. I'm going to pull a bean out. Actually, I need a little bit of the vanilla. So I'll leave that here for the time being. And so, in making whipped cream, I like to use superfine sugar whenever possible. So all I did was take some regular granulated sugar and threw it in the dry carafe for my Vitamix, just to make the particles smaller. So then that way, they the sugar just integrates into the whipped cream that much better, and it's not quite as granular. I'm actually going to try something slightly different with splitting the bean, because I have a bunch of plastic cutting boards and they all have a texture to them. And so what I find is when you go to split the bean and scrape the caviar out, which there's all the little seeds on the inside, the problem is that because of the size of the texture, so many of the little bits of caviar. Oh, Lumpy Joe followed. Thanks, Lumpy Joe. I just noticed that. But the problem is they get stuck in that texture. So I'm gonna split it, but I'm gonna try scraping it on the back of this board scraper. This is the first time I've done this, so it could be a spectacular failure.
Epic fail.
Epic fail.
What about this? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Or not?
Yeah, it probably would. You know what? This probably would, but I'm gonna let me try it this way. This is something I've been thinking about for a minute. Okay, looks like 2.5 minutes until we put the Brussels sprouts back in. Alright, I've got a pint of heavy cream here. It's going into the bowl. And I find that just starting it off and getting it going so it starts to thicken up, do that first before adding in any sugar and any vanilla or anything like that. I've stopped measuring when it comes to sugar. I literally do it to taste. It's kind of like, oh, okay, this tastes good, and so I stop. If I try to avoid it being too sweet, but you got to do what you got to do. So that worked out really well.
Well, Renfield's asking about what you're doing.
Oh, I'm scraping the interior out of the vanilla bean. If you get like vanilla bean ice cream, you see all those little black flecks. It's from the interior of the vanilla bean, and it's called the caviar. Yeah, and so I'm putting it in, so it's giving the whipped cream that nice kind of like vanilla flecky kind of look. And then I'm not going to throw these away. I'm actually going to kind of chop them up and add them to a thing of vanilla sugar that I have. Yeah, the sugar soaks up, you know, kind of that additional vanilla aroma.
Would you talk a little bit about the vanilla extract?
Oh.
There's some folks that have never seen vanilla bean cooking.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Let me... Excuse me, Jane. So, vanilla bean, it's a seed pod that comes off of one of two varieties of orchid that are predominantly grown either down in Mexico or like Madagascar. They are grown like in Uganda, but generally speaking, they tend to be from those two regions. And when it comes to producing them, the orchids have to be hand pollinated, and so vanilla as a spice tends to be extremely expensive because it's incredibly labor intensive. So what they do is the seed pods are green initially, and then they sun dry them, and what it does is it concentrates their there we go, it concentrates all the vanillins, and you end up with these, you know, usually when you get them, they're, depending on who you get them from, they're going to be a little sticky, a little moist, and kind of plump. So vanilla extract is literally just a function of getting a whole bunch of beans, adding them to a jar, and then in the purest of senses, using a neutral flavored spirit that's right around 80 proof, vodka specifically. Preferably, like I said, something on the neutral side, so then that way the vanilla really has a tendency to come through. And you just top it off and let it sit for about 6 months or so, and it creates vanilla extract. Hey, lanky boxy fan. I am well. How are you doing today?
Hey, Grant's here.
Oh, what is up, Mr. G Money in the house? Welcome, welcome. You're just in time for me to talk about vanilla beans and all their amazingness and making vanilla extract and how we're coating them in vodka. Or the other super common way of making it, especially amongst pastry shops, is they'll get all these beans and they'll stick them in a big container, and they'll usually use rum in order to make their extract, since rum is technically like the rum is like the second most common flavoring in baking, and so it's another super common thing. And then honestly, like, I've had these beans for I don't know how long, but what happens is once it gets to a point where it's a little bit low in the jar. I don't know if you can see that because of the glare.
Yeah, you can kind of see it. Yeah.
You can kind of see it. Anyways, if it gets a little too low, you just top it off with some vodka, or or rum or whatever. And so, like, this is one jar. I've got a second jar and a third jar from when my sister would bring home, like I said, like kilos of vanilla beans from Madagascar. So it's yeah, pretty sweet. So I'm going to continue to mix this. There we go. Yeah, you can absolutely bring the beans in, no problem, because they're in vacuum sealed bags. What's up? That's the timer. All right, we'll let those cool down. So this is starting to thicken up, so I'm going to go ahead and add just a dash of the vanilla extract. I never measure. If you had to ask, I would say that's maybe anywhere between a quarter to about a quarter to half teaspoon. And then I've got that super fine sugar that I made.
Why didn't you just use powdered sugar?
Because powdered sugar, in addition to sugar, usually has cornstarch to keep it from caking. That's looking real nice. Can use a little bit more sugar. And you can actually overbeat this. If you mix it too much, you'll end up with butter. Perfect. It's not too sweet, nice and creamy. That vanilla comes through. Okay. So this I'm just going to pop into the fridge for the time being, since we're not quite ready for cake yet. Put this out in the garage. Okay. Let's finish off this potato salad, because I know I'm hungry. because I don't need it no more. Oh, did he go home?
No, he's still.
Oh, he's still at work. Just taking a break. Okay, that's potato salad. Let's give this a taste. That's pretty tasty. That is pretty tasty. I think for me, I prefer a little bit more salt. I think also, like the hot sauce gives it a nice little warmth, but I think in terms of how I would like to personally eat it, I think instead of the 1/4-inch slices,
You should switch screens.
I think instead of the slices like that, I'd go with either chunking it up or like a dice or something. Yeah, mayo. You saw that? Yeah, that's my shopping list. That's what I need. I would probably dice it up personally just to make it a little bit easier, and I would also slice the onions a little bit smaller personally, but I think the flavor's really good. It just needed, for me, a touch more salt, but I think, you know, it's excellent. So yeah, I would definitely give that recipe a shot.
Did you pull the chicken out?
Yeah, it's on the stove.
You need to show it.
I will show it to people. In fact, we'll make a plate, but first I need to turn the cake over. I'm going to foil up yet another tray. But that's how it goes in the Wayso household. I don't really have a formal platter for a 13x9 cake, unfortunately. Down by my parents' place, there's actually a couple of really great restaurant supply places that deal in like used equipment, and so I've been able to pick up some large serving pieces like on the cheap, and yeah, it's been phenomenal, but I have yet to find one that'll work for a cake like this. L'chaim. Alright, let's turn this over. Okay, secret to flipping the cake: do it with confidence, don't stop, just go. Booyah. We lost a corner. Chef's prerogative, I get to eat some cake. DK made a cake today. Pineapple upside down is what it is. Yeah, DK made a cake today. Oh yeah, no, whipped cream. It's all gonna get whipped cream. Smells amazing. Tastes good. All right, so let's plate up. Excuse me, Jane. Boom. And that is Monday night dinner. Oven fried chicken, roasted Brussels sprouts, and let's see if you can hear it. Hear how hard that is? It is super crunchy. And in fact, my favorite bit is that little flap. I call it the little chicken chicharron. I don't normally chew with my mouth open, but I just wanted to see if you can hear the sound.
ASMR.
ASMR. Anyways, that's dinner, folks. Perfect. A little roasty. They're not mushy. They still got a little bit of a give to them. Yeah. And cake. So yeah. Thank you, Night Songs. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Liquid D. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to G Money for popping in. Yeah. So this was dinner. And I'm starving. So I'm going to go eat. Everybody, you have yourself a wonderful night. Let's see. Since I have this nifty giant screen now, let's see who's on. I was wondering if there's anybody on that we should go raid. Next time, okay, Lumpy, next time we're going to make the peach upside down. That's going to be really good. Let's see. You know what? I think we're just going to call it. Yeah, so thank you so much to everybody for popping by. Thank you for all of your support and your comments and your trolling and for everything. Things are just going to get better from here. Yeah, absolutely, AJ. The place is going to get gate crashed. Oh, Pio's on? Okay, we should probably go raid Pio then. Just because we can. And it would be... hang on, let me... It'll be fun. But yeah, I'm hoping to... The goal is to go to TwitchCon in October down in San Diego. I need to look at that and see when tickets are going to go on sale for that. But the goal is to go to that and hopefully meet up with as many people from Twitch fam as possible. And yeah. And then, you know, we'll do like a cooking stream there. It'll be fun. We'll have a big old potluck. At least that's the plan. Whether or not it comes to fruition, not sure yet, but that's the goal. That is what we're aiming for. That's what we're going to do. So, let's see. Let me... Read at PO underscore. And... enter. Invalid raid target channel. Apparently he doesn't want me to raid PO. Oh well. Anyways, everybody, you have yourself a wonderful night. Go eat something delicious. I should be back Wednesday evening. Not sure what we're making just yet. Could just be another we're making dinner again stream. Might end up being something something else. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. Thank you so much again, everybody. Have yourself a wonderful night or afternoon or morning or whatever. Take care. Love you guys. And
El Chupa Hueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupa Hueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupa Hueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make?